Hello, 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 wherever you are. Welcome and good day. We're at SkillFusion. We're thrilled to be hosting this important webinar, Revving Up EV Infrastructure, Powering the Future Through Certification. I'd like to thank our panelists today. And before we dive in, a few comments. Carleen's going to give us an overview based on her recent research of the state of charging experience in the US. Then we're going to dive into a moderated discussion. Please submit your questions via the Q&A function, and we'll do our best to cover them as many as we can. Be nice. Okay. So I'm going to introduce our panelists for today. We'll start with Carleen Cullen. In 2017, Carleen, founder of Cool the Earth, served as EV policy advisor to the Governor Gavin Newsom, who later implemented her policy advice to ban the sale of new gas cars. In 2018, she founded Ride and Drive Clean, California's largest collaboration to encourage drivers to switch to electric vehicles. In 2022, a partnership with UC Berkeley yielded a pivotal study on DC fast charging infrastructure, significantly impacting the state and national reliability standards. Carleen currently serves as the consumer advocate to the Joint Office's National Charging Experience Consortium, focusing on enhancing the public charging experience. Welcome, and thank you for joining us, Carleen. Look forward to hearing. Next up, we got Rob Anderson. Rob is a senior vice president at JLL, leading the EV advisory services business for Sustainable Infrastructure Division, with over a decade of hands-on experience in implementing EV and large infrastructure projects, both in the US and the UK. He brings a wealth of knowledge from the advisory and developer side of the industry. Rob's experience spans across project finance, strategic business planning, and executive stakeholder management. And he has a track record of successfully delivering innovative solutions that help support the adoption of electric vehicles. Prior to working in the advisory space in the US, Rob successfully founded and helped grow an EV charging infrastructure business in the UK, attracting over 300 million of investment and deploying 200 plus level 3 charging stations. Welcome, Rob. We're glad to hear and look forward to chatting with you. Next up, we got my good buddy, Jordan Raymer. Jordan is currently a managing partner with Dash Partners and is active in the startup ecosystem as an investor in companies like AMP and Lately. Prior to his role with Dash Partners, he was the founder and CEO of EV Connect, an electric vehicle infrastructure solutions provider. Thank you so much, Jordan. Good to see you again, bud. So we're going to introduce Carleen, who's going to give us a little bit of insight on today's topic. We've got a bad rap in the industry as far as charging infrastructure that's just not working. So Carleen, tell us a little bit more.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hate to start the session with the bad news. The good news is EV sales are growing. And as a nonprofit working on reducing carbon emissions, we're really encouraged about the growth. So that's the good news. And Rue's given me the great job of sharing the bad news. So I just wanted to first of all say that with Ride and Drive Clean, this collaboration we have, we work with 150 different agencies and nonprofits to really help drivers go electric. And over the past 5 years, we've heard so many complaints from drivers, people saying, this has got to get better. And these were largely early adopters. We're now moving into the mainstream market. And so based upon that, as well as my personal experience driving a Kia Niro, fully electric a Bolt electric vehicle throughout California, and then contrasting that with driving a Tesla across country, it's very clear where there was a significant difference between the open system DC fast chargers and the Tesla superchargers. So really the big concerns for us are consumer confidence and then the equity perspective that people who live in multi-unit dwellings, especially those in our low-income communities, they really are heavily reliant on fast charging. So in 2021, we collaborated with UC Berkeley and did a first of its kind study. There had been no empirical evidence of the failures prior to this. There were surveys and consumer reports about the issues. Our protocol was we tested every open DC fast charger port in the Bay Area. There was 657 of them. And our overall test was to see if they could charge a vehicle for 2 minutes. So that was the functional aspect we were looking at. And overall, about 27% failed that basic test. And I would say the test protocol was fairly generous. We tried 3 different payment systems 2 times. So we tried chip first twice, swipe twice, and then the app twice. And if any of those worked, we counted, and they could charge a car for 2 minutes, we counted that as functional. And I'll share a little bit of information just about what the exact problems were. And we found that connectors being broken, blank or non-responsive screens, error messages on the screen, connector errors, payment system failures, charge initiation failures. And the largest of those are the payment system failures, which the credit card readers, because of numerous factors, are really not reliable and need a lot of maintenance. Charge initiation failure was second, and then error messages or blank messages actually together are right at the top of the list as well. So there was also a number of cables that couldn't reach vehicles. And I know that we're dealing with this right now with superchargers and the length of the cable as well. So with this first of all became a topic in national press, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, really across the board in regional, state, and national press. We took the findings to California agencies as well as the US DOT and federal highways, and we're really advocating, and we're successful in achieving a 97% uptime. There's been a lot of discussion about what uptime is defined as and the exact formula, but it is there. And then 3 other things I wanted to mention. Since that time, J.D. Power released a study recently that demonstrated that from 2022 to 2023, chargers, the satisfaction from consumers dropped dramatically. I think this is in part that the stations are a little bit getting older, but largely because we're reaching the middle market, as I mentioned, who has less tolerance. The number one finding was that chargers broken from 2022 went from 22% to 46%. So that is, extremely concerning. And then also just, this issue continues to play out in the press. A Wall Street Journal reporter tested over 100 open system DC fast chargers just a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles and found that 27% were broken. So, a big issue. And then I'll say the final thing is, this is really basic fundamentals. We're talking about being able to pull up and charge a car. We are not talking about a significant issue, which is about the stations being derated, either from the central controls at the EV charging station companies or just at the station itself. And so there's, I know, some fixes that people are trying to figure out, but it's definitely also a significant issue. So, Rue, that's the good news, but turn it over to you from there.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot there. First off, we're going to be talking a little bit about that 97% uptime guarantee. Do you know what that means, guys? Is 11 days of the year that charger is allowed to be not working, which is a little odd there. I'm going to go over to someone that I knows a lot about operating of systems. Before we do, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to use the Q&A. If you got questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer them. So over to Jordan. Jordan, you've got a lot of experience in keeping this infrastructure up. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think we are with our EV charging infrastructure, bud?
Yeah, well, it's. I think I've just lowered my number after hearing Carleen for the last few minutes. But I'd say it's probably like 4 or 5. You know, there's a lot of room for improvement, and you know, we can do a lot better. That there's a lot to do, and I think there's a lot of explanations for it, but the explanations aren't as important as what we have to go do in the future.
So, Rob, what do you think we need to do? What do you think the solution is?
So my number is probably not far from Jordan's, by the way, as much as I would like it to be higher, especially coming from Europe, where I'd probably pin that number a little bit higher. But I think there's a lot that can be done. I think one of the things that I spend a lot of my time on is federal funding. And I think that that's a really important part of the mix here. So there's the reliability aspect, Rue, Carleen, that you guys were just talking about, but there's also the general accessibility aspect. And I think they need to come together at the same time. Maybe different paces, but ultimately more investment is needed. And that's not just investment in putting new chargers in the ground. There's more investment needed. And we work with our clients on this on a daily basis around training programs, how to use these chargers properly, but also ensuring that the asset itself is continually maintained so that hopefully you don't hit that 11 days a year, Rue, which is where that 97% has stemmed from. But ultimately, I think more investment. And I think it needs to be structured in a way that is methodical and thought through, and it needs to leverage a variety of different partners. Jordan did this in his previous life to facilitate the knowledge of the industry, but also leveraging the public sector to ensure that accessibility.
So let's talk about milestones, guys. You know, we hear this 2030, in Europe, it's 2035. First off, do you think we're going to hit it? You know, I hear people that want to buy electric cars say, well, the infrastructure's not there and it's not reliable enough. And they say it's just not going to happen. It's yeah, you know, it's just a fad. What do you think, Carleen? You think we're going to hit these milestones, aggressive milestones?
So I think we will. I think that a lot of the issues can be addressed, certainly from the field maintenance, and I think that that in my mind is one of the simpler things to accomplish. If we look at ATM machines, and those are out in the field as well, and through trained technicians throughout the U.S., instantly things are fixed, within an hour or two. So I think that in terms of the functionality of the machines, that we can get there. Robert mentioned something that triggered a thought in me, which is about driver education, because certainly when drivers pull up to a station, they don't understand that their car can charge only at 50 kilowatts, or they don't understand the state of charge, or all of these things that influence and the experience. And I think that that's a really significant part of it, is how do we help consumers really understand, because in many cases, it's not that the car is at fault or that the charging station is at fault, it's the expectation of the driver. So I can get back to that a little bit later about at ChargeX, what one of the things we're looking at to help address that.
So you just mentioned, Carleen, maintenance. Okay, I personally believe that a large portion of the downtime of these charges is caused by poor O&M process and protocols. Do you think, guys, all three of you that this goes out to, do you think that there's a shortage of labor out there, skilled labor, which could enhance that 97% or at that score of 3 or 4 out of 10? Oh my goodness. You think that a better skilled labor force would help?